I'm Jennifer O'Connor, CEO of Elan Elite and award-winning studio Elan Yoga. Thank you for having me here today. I'm delighted. My background is in exercise physiology and athletic training. I've worked in major league sports with professional athletes, as well as in rehabilitation hospitals with diabetes, stroke, and heart disease. And then over the last several years, I've studied over 1,000 hours with my yoga teachers, Colleen Seidman-Yee and Rodney Yee, working on yoga, meditation, pranayama practice, and I've fallen in love with bridging mindfulness, meditation with business professionals. I've also had the opportunity to graduate from the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program. And last month, I was invited to go on stage to Washington, D.C. and teach a yoga pose to 3,000 alumni. It was a dream. It was beyond my belief. And throughout that day, I was able to share the stage with people such as leaders, Warren Buffett, Sarah Blakely, who created Spanx, who was just amazing, Michael Bloomberg, and so many others. So today I hope to bring a little bit of meditation, grounding, confidence, and teach you some of the skills that I use in getting myself up every day, investing in myself, and just putting one foot in front of the other. Some days we're down and we feel tired, we feel not so confident. Other days we feel great, and how this meditation can just a little bit day by day can help implement tools and strategies for success and for growth. So everybody on the table, there's a little cotton pad of lavender, and I invite you to grab a pad of lavender and just give it a little smell. And if anybody needs an extra one, Sarah's walking around with extra ones. And then come to sit in your seat with both feet on the ground and take a moment to think about, in your wildest dreams, your biggest career opportunity, what would that be? If nothing were in your way, if there were no barriers, no limitations, no financial, anything getting in the way, what would your biggest dream be for your career re-entry? And I like what Rupa said earlier about redesigning your life. So just take a moment to think about that. Imagine we are waving a magic wand today, and you could have whatever it is that you want. You can be in whatever environment you want to be, moving forward in the direction that speaks to you. And does anyone want to share what their big dream or vision is? Just an idea. Nobody has any dreams? We might have to start over. Yes.
My dream would be to work in a foundation. One that comes to mind is Bloomberg Philanthropies, running or being involved somehow in a program that is geared toward reducing plastic pollution.
Wonderful. And what's your name?
Melissa.
Okay. Thank you, Melissa. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else? One more dream. Somebody give me a dream. Yes, I see
Before
a
you
hand.
Before you start, one sec, because I need to give you the mic.
My name is Mary, and my dream is that I will be in a place to be able to inspire women of every age to do what they love to do the way they love to do it, and that they have infinite possibilities to create the life and the businesses that they want. And it doesn't stop when you take time out, and it doesn't stop when you're 50 years old.
And what's your name?
Mary.
Thank you, Mary. I love that. So 2 beautiful dreams, and I'm sure everyone else has their own dream, so just keep that with you. Again, place your feet on the floor. You can smell your lavender throughout the meditation if you like. Lavender is very grounding. It's wonderful for before bed. It's also invigorating and pleasant, and if you don't like it, you don't have to use it. And then I invite you to close your eyes for a moment. If you want to kick off your shoes, actually, this woman up here, I love that. It's nice to actually have no shoes on and your feet grounded if you're so inclined. And so take a moment to close your eyes and begin to notice your breath. So notice if your breath is moving quickly, is your breath moving slowly? What's your pattern? What's your pace? And as you watch your breath, can you start to relax your jaw? Let your tongue settle into your mouth. Relax the skin of the forehead. And just start to soften all the features of the face. And begin to guide your inhalation in and down towards your belly. Exhalation slides up and out at the base of the throat. And so it's this easy, natural rhythm. Inhalation in and down. Exhalation up and out. And then notice your inner ear. So what are you listening to right now? You're listening to the sound of my voice, people walking around the room. And you begin to let go of everything else on your mind. So let go of thinking about the past, let go of planning the future, and just allow yourself to drop in and be right here, right now. And what listening does is, number one, it allows us to listen to ourselves. So we stop the chaos. We stop running so quickly. And we just take a few moments to drop in and say, this feels good, or this doesn't feel good. This is maybe the right decision, and maybe that's the wrong decision, even though everything on paper says it's right. And we find our inner wisdom. And in listening, we're also able to listen to others, to build stronger relationships. And lastly, with listening, we're able to listen to opportunities, for opportunities. How often do you find yourself talking so fast you don't let another person get a word in edgewise? So we're listening for job opportunities, networking opportunities. We're giving the other person respect, space to talk and speak, and we're quiet, and we're able to take that in. And have about 3 more cycles of breath here. Inhalation in and down, exhalation up and out. And if there's one thing that I can give you to take away today, it's just that breath. It's very simple. You can do it anytime, anywhere. It helps drop us in, quiet the nervous system. And we don't want to be breathing up into our head or breathing up into our chest. We want to just let the beautiful bellows of the lungs open up to full capacity and then come back together with the exhale. And when you're done with your 3 breaths, you can begin to open your eyes and take the room back in. And then think about, so we talked about the dream before. Think about creating some type of affirmation for yourself. And if you have a pen and paper, I encourage you to write down one affirmation right now. Something that pertains to your career without limitations. And maybe you can write it as if it already happened. As Melissa said, she could write down, I work for Bloomberg. I'm grateful. I'm excited. I'm inspired. And so this is something I've been doing myself. I believe this is how I got on stage in Washington. Every day I look at my affirmations. I put them on my phone. I write down all of these ridiculous affirmations and I read them out loud, and I say them to myself, and I look at them in the morning, and I look at them at night. And the more it's that nice self-talk, being nice to yourself, believing in yourself, and just staying with these affirmations, and things start to happen. Things start to shift. Your energy shifts. Your energy, your frequency shifts. So take these affirmations, whatever it is for you, and it's something I recommend putting right on your phone or where it's accessible all day, every day. And then you're going to come up to stand when you're done with your affirmation. And we're going to do a standing posture. It's called mountain pose. And give yourself a little space also. So if you're directly next to somebody, just give yourself a little room. And as you come to stand, just look down at your feet and align your feet. Feel your legs underneath you, and then lift up your chest and take your thumbs into your armpits and lift the chest a little bit. Relax the jaw, release your arms to your side, and just have a breath here. And feel that your energy is now lifting upward, right? So how many people do we see walking around like this, slumped over, on their phones, crouched, the head is dropping? When you walk into a room, when you're interviewing, when you're meeting people, when you're networking, you want to stand like this. You want to make eye contact with people. You want to feel grounded and strong in your feet. So take a moment to have a breath here. Lifting yourself up, reaching that energy up, yeah, really nice here, through the crown of the head. And then let's take a breath together. Inhale the arms up, and exhale your arms down. Now we're going to do something really crazy. This is a little energizing move. It's particularly good for women. It moves around the lymph system. It boosts our immune system. It helps get our energy moving. So what we're going to do is you're going to inhale, lift your arms up, and then you're going to exhale, bend, swing your arms. Inhale up, exhale, swing. We're going to do 5. Inhale up, exhale, swing. One more. Good. And then come back to your mountain pose. Come to stand. And then, has anyone seen the Amy Cuddy TED Talk on the power pose? Yes. So put your hands on your hips for a moment. Feel the steadiness of your feet. You can even open up your legs a little bit wider than your hips. And so the research that Amy Cuddy has done states that when we stand like this in this power pose for just 2 minutes, so if you have a big interview coming up, if you have a big stressful confrontation that you don't want to deal with, stand like this. Go in the bathroom, take a moment for yourself. 2 minutes. And what this does is it starts to decrease cortisol levels, stress levels, and increase testosterone levels. So building confidence and calm. Now, if you really want to be crazy, you can add the Wonder Woman arms and bring your arms up and open it up and lift from the chest and reach the arms. And just doing this alone can help boost everything that you need to just get yourself a little bit further. Have another breath here. And then release your arms down. And then come to sit in your seats. Again, make yourself comfortable. Sit with both feet on the ground. You can once again close your eyes. And now you're going to place your right hand on your chest. And just feel, touch yourself in a loving way. So the same way that you would touch a loved one or someone that you care about. And say something nice to yourself. Maybe an accomplishment that you did this week. Maybe just showing up here today, how exciting to meet all of these wonderful women and how we inspire one another. And maybe tell yourself just that you love yourself. And this is important. This is that self-care, self-love. We're so often giving it to everyone else, and we're the last one at the end of the day, and we realize we didn't do anything nice for ourselves today. I've been starting with this little meditation every morning myself, Just placing my hand on my heart and telling myself that I love myself. And have another breath here. And then you can release your arm. And I'm going to leave you with one last quote that I love. Reading Sheryl Sandberg's book now. And she says, if you're offered a seat on a rocket ship, don't ask which seat. Just get on. Namaste, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And now we would like to share the perspectives of 5 wonderful people of different companies. So we are going to start our panel discussion. Share that. So I will first introduce you. I will start with Emily in the middle. Emily Bicht. Bicht, yes, I say, yeah, and Bicht is very Dutch actually because it's the Senior Operations Manager at Selerant. She is actually an artist and an administrator. She, and it's a very interesting combination, I think, so we would love to hear more about that as well. She explores gender roles within companies. She will actually speak after the panel discussion even to you about men as allies, so that's, I think, a very interesting topic as well. So you will be on stage for a while now. Well, thank you so much for being here, Emily. Thank you. Then we have Laverne. Yeah, do I say it right? Yeah, Laverne. A senior manager of talent acquisition at Regeneron. And in her personal time, she's actually a coach, which is also an interesting combination. She is also a career returnee herself, so she can really give the perspective of how she came back. And yeah, that's what we really would love to hear from you. Then we have Etim. Etim became a good friend of Vermilion, actually. First of all, I want to congratulate you with your new job. We put Etim, I think, in the material still as working for Credit Suisse. Theoretically, it's still right, but you actually, yeah, but you will switch to Morgan Stanley, so congratulations. And Etim is a loyal supporter of career returnees. He has joined us for many different events and has shared his perspective to many women who are looking to re-enter in the financial services industry. And well, thank you so much for being here. Then we have Michelle. There you are, yeah. Michelle, partner at New York Life Insurance Company. A power woman. I definitely should say you're a power woman. You're doing it all. But also keeping work-life balance, and I think we would love to hear more about that, how you do that, yeah, how that works, also in the financial service industry. Then Julie, attorney at law for Wilson Elser, also a career returnee herself, a mom of 4, and we would love to hear how that works out. And when we prepared for this panel discussion, I told the panelists, be honest. Please be honest about what you're sharing. Is the good and the ugly, because we want to hear the real honest perspective, get the company perspective. So I would like to start with just doing sort of a round of introduction. I know I introduced you already, but I would love to hear like why you're here, why you think it's important to talk about career re-entry. And so Julie, can you start with that?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name's Julie Leonard. I'm an attorney at Wilson Elser, which has a big office in White Plains. We also have offices nationwide, another big one in New York City. I returned to work after about 11 years home with my 4 kids. My eldest now is 14, 12, 10, and 8. It's a bit of a balance and of a juggle, but I seem to have made it work, and I do have enjoyed being back to work for these last 3 years. And I have some flexibility with my job as well, which I think has really opened my eyes over the last 10 years that I was home, that flexibility, and I think that option is there now for most women, from my opinion. So
great. Thank you. Thank you, Julie. Levern.
As she mentioned, I'm Levern Coger-Sanchez. I work at Regeneron. We're a biotech pharma company.
Is it on or?
Yeah, I think it's on.
Oh yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe closer to you.
Located in Tarrytown, so literally just down the road. And it was important for me to come twofold. First, as someone who took some time off to adopt a child, to add to my growing household. Like life wasn't challenging enough. And then kind of sort of my game plan as to how I stayed relevant. I know everyone tends to throw that term around. And hopefully at some point in this discussion, I can share with you how I stayed relevant. And I wanted to impart that information to you here today, but also with Regeneron, looking at this possibility of a career reentry program. Still in the initial stages, you are looking at the very first step in us exploring that. So that's why I'm here.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. And it's good to hear, right, that there, I mean, we will come back to that later as well, like what companies are having programs, but that's what we would like to share with you as well, like the company perspective. There are programs out there with different companies, and great that Regeneron is now also thinking about that. Great.
So my name is Emily. I work with Selerant, who sponsored the conference. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold, so my... I won't infect anyone, I promise. My voice may be a little shaky. So part of why, so I never took time off when I had kids. I kept working. But I took time off from my other career of being an artist because it's really difficult to juggle a full-time job and kids and a studio practice. So that is a struggle I'm still dealing with, is getting back into showing work and making work actively while juggling all these other things. So I'm familiar with that struggle.
Yep.
In terms of why we were interested in it for women getting back in the workforce, we're a small company. We believe in work-life balance, and all of us have small kids, so we all tend to work from home a couple days a week. And that's something we feel is important, and so for that reason we felt like we wanted to jump in and share some of our experience.
Great. Yeah, great. Thank you. And I think that is something that's our longer term vision of Vermilion Talent as well, is to make sure that there are more flex jobs and that it is okay to work at a big company, have a good career, but maybe work 4 days a week instead of 5 days a week. That's my longer term vision, coming from the Netherlands, where that's all possible, and I just think that should be possible here in the US as well. So that's a longer term vision, but I'm so happy to hear that companies here start to see that as well, and I think that's very valuable. Thank you. Michelle.
Yes. So my name is Michelle Florence. I'm a partner with New York Life Insurance Company. My office is in White Plains. So like Emily, I was part of you a few years ago. So now I have 2 kids, 1 7, 1 3.5. When I joined New York Life, I was literally 5 months pregnant. And I was a couple months in, I take the training, licensing. The next time I show up, I was like this, right? So my managing partner at the time keeps saying, "Not here, please." So I'm very familiar. I was really among you. I know exactly what it takes. And before New York Life, I had lots of corporate experiences, and it just kind of to the point of my time, I realized I have to do something different for myself and my family. Now, New York Life, the same way, is a very big company in the sense it's different, but I have 15 agents and advisors on my team, and 11 of them were women, and there are probably half of them are just like you guys. They had professional experiences. Now they are, with us, kids, multiple kids, So it's important for me to share with you my experiences, especially now I'm promoted to be a partner, so I have the privilege to provide career opportunities to people who might be interested in financial services. So.
Thank you. Great. Thank you so much. Etim.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be the lone guy in the whole room.
Now you know how it feels.
Happy to be here, though.
That was a very
yes,
simple.
As mentioned, I'm in the process of transitioning. I've been with Credit Suisse for almost 9 years now. I'm in the process of transitioning. In a couple of weeks, we'll be starting out at Morgan Stanley as an executive director in our institutional sales and trading technology as a CFO. So excited about the new challenge, but in my over 20 years of work experience now, I've been heavily involved in diversity recruiting, including female recruiting, minority recruiting, et cetera. And the last 3 years, I've been fortunate enough to get involved as part of my involvement in diversity recruiting at Credit Suisse. A few years ago, the firm started the Real Returns program. And I got involved in resume reviews and have had the privilege of working and hiring 3 women over the last 3 years, one each year, to work as part of my group at Credit Suisse. And so I've been quite familiar with the process, and certainly I'm married with 2 kids as well, and my wife has gone through the time off and certainly understand how that process goes. So happy to be here, happy to lend my insight from my perspective as well.
Great, thank you, Etim. And I think I directly want to jump into this because I hear some of you saying I have hired a career returnee, right, myself or with the company. And of course, I think everybody is dying to hear, like, how did that go? What are the positives? What are the negatives? What does this audience need to keep in mind when they interview as a career returnee? Can you, I don't know who wants to start with Etim? I know you, sorry, I now want to start with you, yeah.
Yeah, I have, and actually in preparation for this, and as you mentioned, I have been part of this for a couple of years now, and have done similar either resume reviews, etc. So in working with folks that have come back into the re-emerged into the workforce, I, in preparation for this, asked one of the people that I hired 3 years ago, who still works with the firm, and she no longer works for me, but we're still quite in touch. Said, so any word of advice I should expound to the group as I'm preparing for this? She said, well, there are a couple of things. So I'll speak from her perspective, and I'll also speak from mine. But a couple of things that she mentioned, and one, she's just flat out said, don't underestimate the impact of going back into the workforce, be it 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Certainly don't underestimate how much time it's going to take you to get back into the flow of things. It's going to feel very foreign, and those were her words. It's going to feel very different.
I like that saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So don't underestimate that. And she also said, on the same token, don't underestimate the impact back home to your kids, to the husband, to those that you may be leaving behind. They may not be used to it. So for her, those were 2 significant challenges. For me, it's been a great experience, and she was a fantastic hire. She was able to move on and do some really great things in the firm. The second person I hired, a real returns woman, came in. I wouldn't say the experience was as great as the first hire. I think the issue with her was that she was just a bit too aggressive. She felt that she needed to prove herself beyond just being herself. She's still at the bank. She's moved on to different roles. But I think it most likely was just a personality thing versus just indicative of a real returner, right? But she did feel, and it was ingratiating for a few people. It just kind of rubbed people the wrong way, how aggressive she felt that she needed to be successful. So I guess from my perspective, so I don't go on for too long, be yourself, be confident that you are talented, that you were hired because of your talents, and that you will be successful. So don't feel that you need to step on toes or push out to the front necessarily without, being yourself. So
I think it's great. I think it's great that you touch upon that. We have another success story of one of our members in the Vermilion Talent community, and she mentioned to me. So she is now, I think, 6 months in. She loves her job, but she says, I find it so hard that I still have that. For her own feeling, she still has that label of career returnee on her head, while she is doing great. She has definitely needed to do like a steep learning curve when she started again, but it's all because you feel it yourself. I don't think, and this is exactly the proof, right? You shouldn't think that companies are looking at that the same way. You're on hire, and they hire you because you're you and you have your skills. I think that's a great advice. Who else hired a career returnee and would like to share?
I can add on that. So, when you was talking about, the 2 women on your team, in my mind, there were a few women that actually appearing as well. So I wanted to start one of them, and she was an accountant with Avon for a number of years, and then 8 years ago, she had twin boys, and one of them is actually a special need child. So, the family need her, so she quit, started to work from home. Just like PT and stuff, but most of the time she's really home, right? Now, I met her last year, And for us to contract you, you need to be licensed. So that licensing, for me, when I started, it took 4 days. For her, it was about a year and a half. So there were so many times she called me and she was crying, saying, "I'm done, Michelle, I'm done." And I pick her back up and move her along with the process. And eventually, now she's a rock star. She's like really doing great with us. And she was recognized by the Latino market and a lot of things. And she said, like, "You did not give up on me. I know if you want me so bad, there's a good reason for it," right? So I'm really glad to carry her through. So when you mentioned about when they come back to work, what's good, what's bad, maybe, and I think in her perspective, like, you have to have a structure. So we talk about flexibility, right? With a lot of what we do, the flexibility is really attractive, but sometimes that's what causes you to fail. You have to have a structure, right? And that's why we have to get out of the house. We have to go to office setting, and we have to have a structure every single day, every single hour, that you have to do something and learn something. And that is a huge point, because, if you think about, flexibility, meaning I do whatever I want, whenever I want, that's not gonna make it a career.
Yeah, good. Great, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I would love to hear from Laverne, your story about career re-entry. Like, how did you do it? What challenges did you face? How did you get back in?
So for me, I had to get ready. I had to allow myself my yoga pants days and my pantsuit days. Made sure I went out and connected with people, because it is a lot to manage all of that and having those feelings. So I'm trusting any re-entry program has a rock solid support system to make sure that the program and the company and the employees succeeds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for me, again, there were days I was able to do nothing, focus on the children, and there were days that I went into Manhattan, so I wouldn't forget what it felt like to be on a crowded train. What it felt like to struggle with pantyhose, make sure that I can still wear my suits, make sure I had suits, and they were still kind of sort of fashionable. Once a week, go into Manhattan and meet that friend. And yes, it has to be Manhattan. That is the epicenter. It doesn't help if it's White Plains. That's kind of cheating there. So in terms of getting ready, that is your practice run. And you want to make sure you don't have as much on the line, so to speak, right? That's the time for you to get ready. So when that opportunity is there, the whole family is ready, because it is a village to get to adjust to this. And getting over the guilt from not being at home anymore. Yeah. And having those discussions with everyone in the family and making sure that there is alignment in terms of expectations, because there's certainly going to be pressures at work, but it's a lot of pressure at home too. So give yourself that runway to get ready, because then it'll be showtime.
Yeah, I love that perspective.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Can you share your career return path, or how?
I think at our firm there's a value in women who are returning to work because you have the experience that we need. We need experienced attorneys, and a lot of women have a baby, so they stay home, but they've got that experience under their belt. They've practiced for a few years, and I know that Wilson Elser is very comfortable in attracting these women back, and we network, meet new women, and give them an opportunity to show their experience and even move on with their careers. And I think a lot of it also has to do with confidence. I know that when I was home for 10 years, it's hard. You lose that confidence. I wasn't sure I could do it. I don't remember I don't remember how to practice law. I've been home changing diapers for 10 years. It was hard, getting new clothes, new suits. Like, I didn't have clothes. I didn't know. And also for me, what was challenging.
Sorry if I can interrupt 1 second. How did you get back that confidence? Because that's, sort of the red line through this whole conference. How did you get back that confidence?
I think eventually you just have to bite the bullet and do it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm still gaining confidence, and it's been a few years now. And you fake it till you make it, right? No, and I mean it.
And I would echo that. You fake it till you make it. You walk in there with some arrogance.
Yeah.
It's underestimated, I
Yeah.
think. You need to have a little bit of arrogance and
Men don't seem to have that struggle, I don't
they don't
think,
have
but
that struggle.
Well, and that's
Sorry.
exactly, yeah, that's what we shared, like overcoming your insecurities. That's really what you need to just, you know what your insecurities are,
Right.
probably, and then just, yeah.
But you have to, I mean, I think, there is this adjective arrogance that men have no issue with at all, but we are told over and over again not to have that. But I think there is value in that. Not too much, but enough to walk into a room and feel like, I'm going to fake it till I make it. I don't know
Yeah.
how to do this, but nobody else knows I don't know how to do
No,
this.
exactly.
So,
they're probably faking it too.
Yeah.
exactly.
And probably
many-
you're the expert, actually, but, right? Yeah.
I mean, think about how many people you've worked with who your first impression of them was that they had it together, and then 6 months into working with them, you discover they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, so that's how you. And did you? What were the biggest challenges that you? I
I
mean,
think for me, I was most intimidated by the practice of law. I don't think laws changed very slowly. So the 10 years, I don't think the practice changed. It was more the computer systems. This sounds silly, but like finding your way around a new office and meeting new friends and not putting yourself out there into a situation where I hadn't been in a long time. You don't. What do you mean? I'm not, with my neighbors every day, dropping off at school. These are all new people that are judging me and making in it. But then 3 years, cut to 3 years later, it's been wonderful, and I've made new relationships and have a new world that I
Yeah.
didn't have before. So I encourage all of you to do the same.
yeah, great.
And don't worry about the computers; you'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Because that was what was really scary for me.
yeah. What does Wilson Elser? So you touched upon it a little bit already. So what kind of programs or what do you offer career returnees or women who want to work but need some flexibility? But
That's
what is
exactly
it?
what we offer. It's
Yeah.
like part-time basis, or we're willing to take women full-time. But a lot of the women that I know that have gone back post staying home with children or different types of careers have been part-time and flex time. If you want to work from home, you can make that work. I personally like going into the office. I'll find anything I can do at home rather than sit down on my computer. So I like being in the office, and I missed being in an office for 10 years. So I think it just depends on your personality.
Yeah.
But for me, that's what works.
Yeah, great.
And it's part-time, too, for me.
That's great. And Regeneron, so you touched upon that already. You're thinking maybe to set something up for career returnees?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to these types of programs, it really starts with one passionate individual pushing the project along, real grassroots, getting the energy from others in the office, speaking to the right people, and getting it going
Getting
from
it
there.
set
So
up, yeah.
this invitation came up, and the executive director came to me and she said, "Didn't you re-enter at one point?
Yeah.
You like doing this. You do the career coaching. Why don't you go find out about it?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is great. This is certainly my
Yeah.
my space, and
Yeah.
this is also helping me overcome my public speaking challenge that I tend to have. So that's the purpose of a third purpose of me being here today.
Well, you're doing great, really.
Thank you.
Does Selerant have, how do you...
We don't have any specific program. We're
No.
20 people, and most of them are men because we're a software company. And we're currently looking for an accountant position, but we're always collecting developer resumes. And I'm constantly pushing for us to hire women.
Yeah.
So that may happen. We may have a position open this year.
Yeah.
And generally, I feel like that's not even something we look at when
No.
we look at someone's resume. We're not concerned because we all want this work-life balance.
Yeah.
So we've already kind of figured that out.
Yeah,
a
that's
little bit.
great. I think that's really...
Yeah, I mean,
And being a small company, and sometimes we see that when we talk with companies, bigger companies, it's harder actually to set something up like flex part-time than smaller companies. It's also from a payment perspective sometimes more beneficial, right, to have somebody part-time on the payroll. But it's,
right.
yeah,
And for us, some of it is a lot of our work can be done anywhere.
yeah,
So we're not as tied to a location.
no,
And because it started as a startup, there's already some investment and flexibility. So it just works out for
Yeah,
us. But
yeah.
I can see that larger companies, it's more difficult to do.
Yeah. Okay. New York Life has...
Right.
Yeah.
So my office is in White Plains, and I constantly looking for talents and qualified candidates to fill in the career agent, financial advisor position. It depends on what license you come in with. And within the proximity of our home office, this position in my mind is very dynamic. You know, you can stay as a financial advisor planner forever if you want to. I always think I'm never going to retire really when I go back to Florida, California, whenever. Or if you want to move up, you know, to the managerial role. Now for us it's a full-time. We don't allow part-time, but it is flexibility, meaning that in my sense, like I work late every Monday, whole day, talk to I don't know how many people. At the end of the day, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to talk to nobody. Literally, like, can I just go home? I leave the office like 8 p.m. on Mondays, like every Monday. But Tuesday, guess what? I leave at 3:30. I got to pick up my daughter. She got a swim team. You know, she got the whole thing going on, the cheer jump and whatever, and I go. Right? And Wednesday, I don't remember, but today I'm here, so I really don't remember what happened yesterday. But you know, it is a schedule that we set, and it's a schedule that on your own, right? So, you know, I'm, you know, as your manager partner to help you to build that structure, but you have a lot of flexibility in your hand, and I totally treasure because I'm one of you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I would like to give you enough time to ask questions to this panel. I mean, I can ask many questions still. I still have a lot of questions for you, but I think it's great if I open it up for you to ask questions to this group.
I would just like to thank the panel for such insights. These were very helpful. My first question would be, in my perspective, I think this is more like a chicken and egg situation. Sometimes you need the confidence to you know, market your talent and skills to get entry to a position, or do you get the confidence back when you are in a revenue generating role and adding value you know, as a working member of the company? So for me, that's kind of confusing. Like, all the confidence or talent or skills I have are of no use if I am not in a revenue generating position, or, you know, like earning for a paid position. So the re-entry programs that you were talking about, do those programs offer that platform to build your confidence? And you know, just as a, or are they treated as regular positions or regular jobs where you come in with what you have and you start with the company, instead of offering what you have and then you know, take yourself back to the position where you were before you left the workplace?
I think that's a good question for Etim, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I can certainly touch upon that a little bit with Credit Suisse. The Real Returns program has been quite successful at the firm. It's a global program. It has executive sponsorship, both from female executives and certainly from the CEO and male executives as well. And it's treated as such. It's not one that we balk at. It's one that the firm ensures that we set up anyone that's coming back as a real returner for success. So the roles that they're provided are significant roles, by all means. There are activities and events that go on throughout the 10-week process. It's a 10-week event. 10-week program. Where you then are given either a full-time job or a contract job afterwards, depending on your performance and depending on the needs of the group. But a majority of them end up being hired full-time. But the roles, as I mentioned, are quite significant. And throughout the 10 weeks, on almost 2-3 times a week, either you're meeting with other folks. There are a lot of events that are happening, networking events. You're assigned a senior mentor within the firm, within the group. As well. So there are a lot of ways that we ensure that we set up a platform where you know, the females that come in are successful. The roles that we give them are ones that they will be successful at. And then we give them networking opportunities so that they can meet others in the bank, so that after the 10 weeks, either you stay with the group, the choice is yours. You can take the offer, or if you have networked and find another job elsewhere in the bank, by all means as well. That's how the program works within Credit Suisse, and it has been successful. It's been scaled back, to be honest. It's scaled back, and that's driven by more just the industry needs and what the firm is going through from a bottom line perspective. But just to answer the confidence question, I mean, certainly being prepared and understanding what your skill set is, knowing what you do know and knowing that you can be successful, it goes a long way. But I think you should absolutely have the confidence before you get the job. I mean, it's going to be hard to project that, to get the job if you don't project that confidence, has been mentioned. So certainly don't wait to get a revenue generating job or a job period before being confident. It's not easy, by all means. Otherwise, the jobs will be a dime a dozen. It's not easy even if you're not, re-emerging into the workforce. If you're just been in the workforce and looking for a job, it's not easy. So certainly, there are going to be ups and downs, but the one thing that you always have is your confidence and your skill set. So you always have to project that.
Yeah, and I think that's a good sort of way also into like first get that clarity, right? So if you know that you want to get back in an executive role full time, going to the city, commuting, etc., that's great. Then you have that clarity, and then you can find like what companies am I looking for, what companies have programs like this and can help. Some women say, well, I don't want to get back into that industry where I was before. I want to work part-time, I want to work flexible hours, right? I think that's, so first get that clarity, and when you have that clarity, then the confidence comes with it, because then you know what you stand for and what you want to do, what your skill set is. So I think it's but great that the program offers that, right? That there's a 10-week program that you can sort of transition in instead of just going directly. Yeah. Thank you.
I actually have another quick question. Today's session, the conference. Is there any tangible, concrete takeaway from this meeting? I mean, from this conference today, or all the roles that you're talking about are out there in the market for everyone to look up for and apply to, or are these are there certain positions open with you guys right now that are eligible for applying today? Just trying to make sense of the time that I'm spending here, whether it's giving me some concrete, tangible return, or is it something like another long day spent through the journey of getting back to the market. I don't know if I made that clear.
Well, just briefly speaking.
Well, I think most of the panelists already shared like what's out there, right? So what programs are out there. I think some shared like even job positions that are out there. It's not that we created or that these panelists created jobs for this conference and say, okay, everybody who's here can apply and nobody else. That's not what it is. But I think what we would like to create, or what we created here, is the connection with companies who are looking for career returnees, which is already great. I can tell you not all companies are that far along yet, or are not leading in this topic. So I think that's what we wanted to do with this conference, is having these companies here, having the opportunity for the companies to tell to this group, hey, we're looking for you, and for you to meet them. And so that's the purpose, if you if you may. Alyssa, you would like to?
I loved what you said today. Thank you so much. I have a question that relates to confidence, but it's kind of the flip side. I mean, isn't there some confidence and some strength in saying when you don't know something, but addressing how you could go at a particular problem or challenge and showing that you can address it even if you don't know the answer in that moment?
Who would you like to?
I addressed that to the panel.
Yeah.
There was a lot about, faking it till you make it, and there was a lot about, having confidence and the use of the term arrogance, and you're the experts, so I'm sure all of those things are correct, but like there's something in my gut that's telling me there's also got to be some strength in just saying, I don't know, but I'm going to tear it up and find out for you.
I think there's absolutely strength in saying that. And I think that if you can say that with confidence and be able to say, listen, this is a thing I don't know anything about. I'm happy to do some research and figure it out. Can you point me in the right direction? I think there's absolutely strength in that. I mean, when I made the statement about arrogance, that doesn't mean ignoring anyone's advice or pretending you know everything. It means boosting yourself up, being able to go in, do the research you need to do to find something out. If you really have no idea, then I think it's really important to say, I've never done this before, but I'm happy to take a bite and see what happens.
Yeah, definitely.
I just want to echo that. It is about, there's power in knowing what you don't know, right? And going through the process of learning, figuring out what you don't know. And it's maturity, too. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. In behavioral-based interviewing, we're going to ask you, well, tell me about something that you learned. What was a struggle for you, and how did you overcome it to come out on top? Or if you didn't come out on top, what were some of the lessons learned? So in terms of interviewing, we're looking for some of that struggle. It's not necessarily the exact struggle. No one needs to hear about the kids that are home specifically and get too personal, but what you get out of it. How are you different? What skills have you been building when you've been home with the kids? So it's really about focusing on the skills. And you believe you have the skills, that confidence is going to come.
Yeah. And so you said also you realized you needed to update some skills, right? Or some.
Yes.
So what was it that you needed to update, and how did you do it?
Well, when I went out several years ago, there wasn't LinkedIn wasn't as active, so I went up to various meetup groups, kind of sort of events similar to this, but not at this level. So this is great that you have that. That's how you find out what is going on. I think nowadays people tend to think the world exists on the internet. It's about connecting with people. Like Rupa said, it's engaging. It's not clicking a like. So that's how you find out what's going on. That's how you find out what's missing, and that's how you find out what you need to know. And in working with those folks and having those conversations, you can kind of figure out where you need to go to fill the skills that you're looking for, or the skills that's going to get you to your destination.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, networking, right? That's
yes, good old networking.
key.
I just don't want to call it networking.
No,
because it's such a dark
thing
cloud
about it.
over a networking.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's what it is.
Yeah. I think Michelle wanted to share something.
Let me share something with you about myself. So we're talking about confidence, right? So this is a month ago. So I had to do a tooth, a crown, okay? And for whatever reason, I've been there 5 times. It was root canal. I did not realize that he's literally taking my tooth down to that little tiny and put a cover on it. And I'm like, I literally start to cry in front of my dentist. And he's like, just communicated with me. He was all panicking too. I'm seeing him for over 10 years. Like I really trust in him. But I'm like, if I realize this, maybe we could do next week, because tomorrow I'm having 50 people seminar in my office. I'm gonna host it. Why today? So, and he was talk to me. He sent me to the lab and put some temporary on, and I look at my tooth, and I went outside to see. I'm like, I can see it myself, right? So I called my husband on the phone, and he's driving. He's like, oh no. I did not tell him what it is. I'm like, just come home. I went to the doctor. So he came home. He said, no, please, no. He thought I was pregnant again. So he's like, I was like, just look at me. What's different? He said, you look great. Nothing's different. All right. So, it's all about like what you are thinking, how you want to handle that. The second day, honestly, I was in front of a whole room. Nobody came to see what happened to your tooth, right? It's how you want to present yourself. And honestly, I did not realize that I had, a fake tooth at that time. But everything went out great. And I know, like, I'm in the financial industry before for many years, New York Life. I'm relatively new, but I know people who's been there 40 plus years. They don't know everything. They really don't. Right. And if you are okay with the confidence to say, guess what? We'll find out. And I promise you, I'll get back to you, and whatever you feel like it, to say at the moment. But just with this confident level, you'll be just fine.
Just real quick, I was just compelled to share this. I got my role, my new job at Morgan Stanley, because I did just that. At the first interview, granted, I am fortunate enough where I do really like Credit Suisse. I didn't want to leave. I just picked up the phone when I got a call. So it was not a carefree interview. I prepared, etc. But I was grilled. It's a CFO role. It's very demanding, and the hiring manager really grilled me. And a couple of instances, he asked me a question, and I just did not know. And I told him, I've done that before. I just don't know the answer at the moment. And I was like, I left thinking, oh, well, I mean, I thought I did well, but that might have just cost me the job, but you know what, whatever. But I got a call the next morning. And subsequently, after the offer had been made, and I'd just been talking to him, and he said, listen, we interviewed a lot of people for the role, and I got a lot of BS often. So I really appreciated the fact that you were honest enough. I mean, you were smart enough, blah, 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 but you were also honest enough to, when you didn't know something, just to tell me you didn't know it.
It said something about your personality, right? And
Right,
that's
'cause,
exactly.
to have to engage,
Yeah.
exactly. In my role, I engage quite a bit with the business, et cetera, and you're sharing numbers, you're talking numbers, and if you BS numbers with senior executives, they'll call you out on it, and that's the last place you want to be.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that, and that's one of the reasons why I was hired. So you're absolutely right when
Great.
it comes to that.
Are there any other questions? One more. Okay, I think there. Oh.
I just wanted, first of all, I loved your comment about, oh, you have to go to Manhattan and make sure, because I've always had a job in Manhattan, and now I'm in White Plains, I'm in transition mode, and yesterday I was sort of like nervous and freaking out because I hadn't gone into Manhattan in like 3 weeks, and I had to go there, and I'm like, my world is falling apart. It's like, I'm like, oh my God, I have to put on a suit, like that's insane. And so this is the second day. But you really have to do step out of your comfort zone. And I also think you need to embrace your weaknesses. There are resources out there that are good at what they do. Yes, it'll cost you some monetary, but like, you know what? You have to think of it as an investment in yourself. Like, I don't understand millennials nowadays. They have a totally different language. I hate doing LinkedIn. I think it's like a marketing scam. But there are people that actually look for jobs on LinkedIn, and they're hooked on it. And you know what? I'm not a good writer, so why should I have to worry about my LinkedIn profile? I can just outsource this. And instead of outsourcing, like I have, personally, I have like an equities account, okay? But then it's there, I don't look at it, it does its own thing with like stocks and bonds, but why not invest in myself? Why not hire somebody that can do the work for me? Like even joining Vermilion, it's like an investment in myself. So you can't do everything yourself because everybody has weaknesses. They just have their network of resources that they go to. I'm not saying like you pay for everything, but if you look at Amazon Prime, you look at Amazon Fresh, no one wants to go to the grocery store nowadays. So there's other avenues, and no one's expected to do everything themselves.
Yeah.
That's all.
Great. Great comment. Thanks. I think there was one more question there as well, just to.
My name's Anna Reel. So I have a question. It might be too broad or too personal or specific, but can you speak to retraining? So I know you're an attorney, and so there's a lot of relaunch for specific professions, but I, for example, at the moment don't have a master's degree in something. And at the level that I want to re-enter, so a lot of things I'm looking at are basically entry level. So I'm like 51, applying for summer internships. So and I'm willing to do that because I understand that there is a certain re-entry aspect, but also like I have a lot of skill, I have a lot of experience, but how would you recommend investing in retraining or directing your resources so that you get a maximum return when you're applying at a certain level of compensation?
I can't speak for everything, but I can talk about New York Life and our training program. So 80% or more, actually, people come into the insurance and financial service businesses are career changers, including myself, really. I mean, I had a financial background, but it was not personal financial services, not insurance, nothing related to insurance. So we have a different contract also, depends on what background you come in. So for career changers, we have a 3-year training program with the sponsorship of all the licensing from New York Life. And that's really tailored to new, so people from different industries, right? So I'll give you an example. One of my advisor, she was in PwC for 11 years and stayed home for 10 plus years. She had 4 children, right? She drives like midnight for hockey game and all that. So she's super analytical, and she started her own financial planning services at home. But how she came to me was she realized that there was no product services. She had all her experience, and that was it, really. So she come in to go through the whole year program, and a lot of numbers, product, service, that's easy for her because she's super good with numbers, very analytical. But you know what she need to get trained on is the marketing piece, the language, the prospecting, right? How do we present? How do you build, continue to build that relationship? So that's what we offer. Really, literally your first 3 years. The first year being more intense, if you will, is Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings for 2.5 hours. So average like 10 to 12 hours a week for your first year with us, so it gets you up to speed.
But I think I find it very interesting what you said is I'm applying for probably for internships or for like entry level positions, right? I would love to hear maybe can you give a perspective on, is that a do or is that a don't? Yeah, I mean.
From an attorney perspective, our firm offers continuing legal education courses throughout. You have to keep your bar current, so I guess it's a little different than maybe other careers. And for me personally, I always did keep my bar license current, even the 10 years that I was home, because I never knew if my husband lost his job and I had something happen. You never know. I wanted to be able to jump right back in. But of course, our firm offers those. We also have other ways to support women in particular, which would be, and actually men too are also involved. We have a mentoring program where you're paired with someone more senior to you for feedback, advice, ideas, whether it be personal, professional, or a legal issue that you have. You have a case that you have a problem on. I can go speak to my mentor, and he's it's actually a she. She's always willing to give me her time and assistance. And we also have a women's initiative committee that I'm a member of, and so is Margaret, who's here with me from my firm, that supports women and men in particular, but mostly only women show up to the meetings. Usually we have a few men, but so it's like you today. So we have those, but as far as preparing to re-enter, someone else might be better to speak to that.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to highlight, you were saying I might need to apply for entry-level jobs, and I'm not sure if that's if I agree with that. I think, yeah, and I think there's a lot. Yeah, I think there's a lot there, and that's something that's a total, like, what are the skills that you gained during your gap, right? What are transferable skills that you can put on your resume and on your skills list that that brings you on a much higher level than entry level coming in. I think there's so much value that you bring to the table that's more than entry level. So I wouldn't agree to say, okay, yeah, you should go to an entry level function. I think there's so much that you have that you can bring, besides maybe your previous career, right? There's so much that you gained.
Yeah, and I'd like to add etiquette that Rebecca's talking about, and we'll share that information with everybody. Okay? Yes, of course.
Thank you. I think we need to wrap up. So I hope you can stay for after your presentation, stay for a little bit of networking. So if there's any questions you have, you can still reach out to you. Is that, yeah? Okay, thank you so much for sharing your perspective. Thank you.